Hi, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of Maple's House the Pro, where we talk with top talents about everything from marketing to business and so much more. Our guest today is known for her expertise in e commerce and digital marketing. She has a background in helping businesses optimize their online presence and improve customer experience. She has worked with various companies and shared her insights through writing and speaking engagements. Linda Bustos, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Just as a quick, run through, as I gave a very quick intro and a very general intro, tell us a little bit about what you do today.
Well, right now I'm just finishing off a multi-month long research project, which I'm going to be launching on ecommideas.com shortly. So depending on when this airs, it may have already launched or not. But basically, I've worn many different hats in my career. I started off as a blogger, which was kind of like part of that job was going and looking at all of the internet retailer top 500 companies and writing articles about the good and the bad and the everything between to inspire merchants on how to evolve their e-commerce experience, raise their conversion rates, and do all different types of digital marketing. And then after I left that, I went into consulting, and then I spent a couple years in-house working with an in-house commerce team. So after wearing all of those hats, a few things in my personal process. I really felt like I wanted to open source. I've always been collecting tons and tons of screenshots of these examples that I would use in my daily work. And I had this big database of screenshots and it all categorized and stuff on my machine. So I've been working on going and doing that from scratch, trying to find all of the most innovative and most creative solutions to everyday e-commerce features and functionality. And I've been sharing those on LinkedIn, but I'm going to be launching a big directory of all these kind of stuff for free that people can use in their product management and their conversion optimization programs and in their day-to-day operations. So that's what I've been up to. I've kind of cleared the plate on clients on that.
All right. Wow, that's a lot. I have to ask, why? Okay, I know it's a brand thing, but I will ask anyway. Why for free?
Um, well, I think because I'm going to need to think about it. Everybody always asks me first off the bat, like when I share what I'm doing and stuff, they're like, okay, cool. How are you going to monetize it? And right now, I don't exactly know. I don't know what the right monetization for it, or even if I will monetize it. I've done this exercise before. So when I left, I wrote a blog called Get Elastic. And then when I went into freelancing and consulting for the first year, I did this entire exercise and it took me a year and I didn't monetize it. I had a newsletter and a blog called E-commerce Illustrated. And I had so much fun doing that. I really did. It was something that I would do if I won the lottery and I had to, fill my time and I didn't need to earn any money. I would still do this. So I thought that would be a good place to start, like get all of this done, put it out there. This is something that I think should exist. And I think creating a barrier, like a lot of people in e-commerce are located around the world and the economies are different. Like if I'm in North America and I say like, well, this is all gated and it costs $50 a month, or like I wanted to do a business model like that, I think it would alienate a lot of up and coming people in the industry or people located in places where, $50 a month is a lot. So I want to just get it out there. I want to get feedback, and there's always opportunities to create premium content later if I choose to. I might just not do any of that at all and keep it free and for the people.
That's great. That's really great. I love the honesty. Okay, so let's just kind of dive in because now I have a chance to kind of see what you're gonna what you're gonna share with the world for free in a bit. So if we're talking about e-commerce, what do you think current challenges e-commerce businesses has at the moment, and what do you think they will face in the upcoming year, 2024?
Yeah, I think that e-commerce is a very difficult game. You're constantly on the hunt to acquire customers. It's very hard to retain them. You constantly have pressure from things like Amazon, always trying to eat your lunch. And now we're seeing TikTok trying to get into shopping, and Shein and Temu and all of these, companies that can do things cheaply and at scale and are not worried about profitability. They have a different business model of trying to grow as big as they can and kind of dominate and through acquisitions and all that kind of stuff. Like that model of get big and do things at scale. And that really puts pressure on smaller independent brands selling direct, independent operators. And I think another area too is just the cost of the talent and the people to keep things running when you constantly have pressure to win customers through discounts and spend a lot on ads and spend a lot on even upkeeping your digital stack, and the cost of people that can put a lot of pressure on merchants. And definitely in 2023, we've seen a lot of folks have to let people go and then start thinking about how they can keep things moving, with more flexible, like working with freelancers or working with part-time people or working with, new ways of tapping into talent to keep things growing, because you can't just, you can't contract in a time of like economic contraction. You have to keep moving and keep competitive. But yeah, I think that those are the pressures that are on merchants for sure.
Do you see efficient solutions to that pressure? I mean, um, like something that really is effective.
Yeah. Yeah, I think nowadays, there's more freelancers and talent out there available that can do fractional work. So you can have a part-time person that gets your development done, gets your integration done. In 2024, Shopify has this big change to their checkout. So merchants need to get that sorted out, and they need technical people to do it. So I think, yeah, there's definitely ways to tap into like more fractional talent on marketing side, on development side, on design, and keep things moving that way, and a lot of available people out there.
Do you think do you think there's a different strategy to people who are starting a business right now than to people who started a business 2 years ago, in terms of how they penetrate the market, how they advertise themselves? I mean, is it a big difference from 2 years ago, or is it just the same, keep on the same strategies and you'll get there?
There's always an opportunity to start something in a downturn. Um, I'm old enough to have been through the 2008, 2009 era. And I started an e-commerce business on Etsy during that time. And I actually picked up some of that tailwind because as economies were getting squeezed, I sell costume jewelry, handmade stuff. So that became kind of the switching down from maybe holidays and birthdays and gifting. You would give like a very nice, expensive piece of jewelry, but now you could get something more reasonably priced that still had something a little bit more special to it than buying something $20 at Claire's at the mall, right? So I started something that kind of fit in with the zeitgeist of what was happening economically. And I think there's still a lot of opportunities for businesses to start now, even though things are tighter. But you just have to make sure that your product fits with that and that it's something that people want and that you can create demand for under these conditions. Maybe it's not the right time to start an apparel retailer, or start something that requires a big capital heavy inventory investment that you're not sure what you'll be able to sell. If you can start small and you have a roadmap and plan for under various conditions, how you can pivot, how you can grow, I think that's how you can thrive and survive.
Cool. What are some trends that we're gonna see in 2024, or trends that you feel like came in 2023 and will stay?
Yeah. Obviously 2023's big mic drop was the Chat GPT. So a lot of buzz around that. A lot of people wondering how they're going to leverage that, both internally for people, but also with, applying tools and maybe procuring new tools, new personalization software, new search, new merchandising kind of things. I think it's very easy for companies to just slap an AI label on what they do. So I don't know exactly I haven't talked to enough merchants to see where the adoption curve is at on that yet. I know there's a lot of talk about it and a lot of people excited about the topic, but I think in 2024 we'll start to see that dust settling where the real applications, the real AI that people are going to use is going to, become more widely adopted, and the other stuff that was just hype and overexcitement is going to die down. So I think that GPT probably Chat GPT is probably going to release another version, which is going to amplify the capabilities, and we'll see more of that in generative image stuff, and maybe some vendors that will introduce some new features that make it more easy for everyday merchants to adopt.
I mentioned this before, but and I don't know if it's a trend that's coming, or is it current, or is it, because it started in China, but it's now in the West as well. Online shopping through live streaming. Is this something that you think that Western audience can really relate to and buy through in terms of customer experience, and also in terms of the how fast it goes? I think it was 2 weeks ago, an influencer on one of the Chinese live streaming merchants sold in 1 week, I think it was $18 million of items from a 15 seconds video where each item had about 3 seconds of exposure to her audience. So I'm wondering.
Was that Kim Kardashian? Because I heard
No. It was
I heard she did a live stream in Asia that millions of
no. It's
perfume
not her.
sales, but they have these Taobao. Yeah, I mean, China and Asia is always ahead of us in technology, and they've always been ahead of us in mobile shopping, mobile payments, instant delivery, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they're breaking the ground first on the live streaming, and they've got this big platform, kind of like their Amazon, called Tmall and Taobao, like those brands and stuff. So they have done very well, like a Singles Day live stream or all this kind of stuff. So live shopping is huge there, and they have a lot more commerce with key opinion leaders, that they call it. They even have like virtual avatar, like virtual AI driven opinion leaders that are starting to trend and grow. So whether that will trickle down to North America, we've seen Amazon. They had like a live shopping kind of feature that didn't really take off. Facebook had live shopping capabilities that they also rolled back. I believe TikTok had that. They'll probably try it again. But I think that for it to work for brands, going Instagram Live or any of that kind of stuff, they're going to have to bring their own audience. So you have to have a very strong and engaged customer base first for those events to work, because they are live. There is some value in running a live event and then taking little snippets of those videos and putting it on a product page, right? So that's now great video that you can use indefinitely. It's evergreen stuff that can demonstrate a product, or you can even have a question answer kind of period there, where someone's demonstrating the product and taking common questions that maybe even be seeded by the audience. But I think there's potential there. But I think it's really going to be the big brands and the already popular, unless you can bring an influencer who will bring their audience. I can't think of a North American example that has done that well, but I'm sure they're out there.
I'm really, I'm thinking out loud, because for me personally, and I'm an older generation, but for me personally, I buy online, obviously, but I want the experience to be respectful. I want to have a brand show me what stuff look like, exactly how it looks like. I don't want a 2 second video showing me whoosh, that's it. This is the stuff. No, I want to be respected as a client, and I'm wondering if it's an old fashioned way of thinking of user experience, or is it really just a difference in culture, or in the way we see purchasing? Because if it is, then, some other strategies for user experience that should be implemented before we even start talking about live shopping. And it's going to take time.
Well, I think that you've had those digital and physical channels separate for so long, and now technology is coming where we can bring those two together. So even if you've got someone on staff that's waiting on a live chat to jump on a one-to-one video, platform, like jump on a Zoom or jump on like how we're talking right now, that can be an enhanced, customer service channel that you have, or being able to, obviously with the pandemic when people couldn't travel, and there are some industries, especially high-end luxury, where the whole thing was about the in-store experience, and you're waiting on hand and foot, and you have your own dedicated sales associate that follows you for years, right? You call up your Chanel SA, they call them, or your Gucci, and they reserve stuff that doesn't even make it onto the web for you. So I think that there's like these tools and stuff that can kind of bring the digital personal selling, the experienced. You walk into a vitamin store, or you walk into a store, like you expect the sales associates to be deep experts on the product, have a lot of product knowledge, and be able to answer questions in real time. So definitely the digital platforms need to support that.
What are some effective strategies when it comes to user experience in e-commerce? You mentioned using snippets of a live video showing a product, but what can be done more than that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of
Or what do you
D2C
see
go
businesses are
very
doing?
creative and very immersive with their brand experiences. So you land on the site and there's a video in the background, and then you scroll down a product page, and it's very, when you compare it back to the original templated online stores, it's very boxy and very text based and everything. And now it's a lot of creative and stuff flying out from the side, and video here and video there and everything. And I love that. And I especially think that Gen Z and Gen Alpha are going to be the ones that want those immersive experiences and expect them. The downside to that is the performance. So customer experience, if a page loads slowly, or if it's difficult to understand, if it's difficult to find what you're supposed to be clicking on and navigate back and forth, that's the downside of all of that. So I think we need, I don't know what the solution is. Do we need to evolve technically so that that site speed catches up to support these heavy objects? Um, I hope. I hope there's some kind of a meeting where you can have the best of both worlds. You can have all the sexy, interactive, creative experiences without sacrificing page load speed and conversion rate.
What are some of the most useful tactics that for marketing for e-commerce?
I think one thing that's difficult to do is to be able to support the customer journey effectively, especially because mobile is first. It's harder to shop on mobile. The bigger your catalog, the more stuff that you have to offer, the harder it is to really personalize and to support that journey. You land on a homepage, let's say, now you have to go to a menu. And if it's on mobile, it's collapsed behind a hamburger link or some other type of link. And even getting through the navigation menu can be difficult. Or you use search and then it pulls a bunch of different products, and you only see two at a time or one at a time. And then people get distracted because they're on their phone and they abandon your page, and maybe come back or not come back. So I think that that's the biggest challenge. If we had stuck with the desktop orientation forever, I think that, conversion rates are usually higher on desktop, but now we are in a mobile first world. So I think the best way to support them is to be obsessed with that mobile experience and try and get stuff to load fast, and try and evolve, like filtering and sort is the best way to get people to the most focused set of stuff that they want. But it's very difficult to to fiddle with those menus on mobile. So I wish I had a silver bullet answer to that. I guess I just kind of, went on and on about how hard it is. But yeah, good customer experiences, like just know how to get people to find what they want and get it into the cart. Right? It's just that easy. Oversimplifying.
Yeah, super simple. So, are there any specific technologies or tools that you recommend entrepreneurs to use when they start, when they're stuck? What kind of use cases can you think of?
Well, definitely. I mean, sadly, we lost very powerful, very powerful tools this year that Google was offering. So, Google Analytics 3 and the Google Optimize product, which was also free. Those things went away. Google Analytics 4, everyone has a learning curve around it. It doesn't do the same degree of reporting as Universal Analytics does. And you can kind of tell that the product was built for mobile apps first. Like it was built for that originally for the engagement. You see like daily average users and all those metrics kind of in there. So I think e-commerce, that's a little bit difficult. So I think tools that are able to give you analytics like heat mapping, video recording, session recording, things that can help you track things. So your Google Tag Manager and having a thorough practice around tagging everything on the page so you can be able to, like, if you're not doing A/B testing, you can still measure the amount of engagement with certain features and functionality that you're offering, or do people engage with stuff past a certain point. So I think those tools and like measurement and analytics type tools. There's other things like I can't remember what it's called because there's so many apps out there. It starts with an R. And
Like
also because it's
rewards,
my morning, but it's like the loyalty, that can give you cohorts and repurchase rates and all that kind of stuff. I'm sorry, it's early in the morning. It starts with an R. I know because I use it frequently. This should be on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, analytics stuff that able to help you understand your customer and analyze the journey from that way. And then, of course, if you can afford A/B testing tool and A/B testing talent, then for sure doing that as well. Um, yeah, and yeah, and site speed monitoring tools that can tell you, what the little things hidden in your code, that you need to fix, or objects that you might want to remove to improve your performance score. Third-party scripts that are getting injected into your site, especially if you're on Shopify and use multiple apps. Like those kind of things can really make a difference when you clean them up.
right? Do you how do you see the future of e-commerce?
Ooh, that could go in many different ways. E-commerce is big, right? You've got a lot of non-traditional industries that you wouldn't think are doing e-commerce are very heavily invested in their digital transformation, like from the energy sector and the, telecommunications and utilities and all that kind of stuff, CPG, brand selling direct, like who thought toothpaste? They're not going to have a toothpaste store, but they need digital and ads and everything to engage and keep themselves, relevant in the omni-channel, hyper-channel world, all the way down to merchants on Shopify, people running it out of their spare bedroom, or great ideas that then blow up and become the next Caspers of the world, or Allbirds, or like some of these digital native brands that started gaining traction. So e-commerce is very broad. So where I see it going is I do think everything needs to become more seamless and omni-channel across digital and physical. We're inching towards that more and more all the time. Um, in terms of digital experience, things need to get faster, things need to get more frictionless. And I do think they're going to move a little bit more towards the new generations, the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha that are coming online. They don't need the old best practices of you need to make this button so obviously clear to click, right? They're so digitally native. They're so used to playing stuff. They'll find it. Yeah. Yeah. So I think brand is going to be really important, and creating products that people want, because you can't optimize yourself out of a boring catalog. You can't do enough tweaking and redesigning of your site if you don't have products in stock, or if you're not priced competitively, or you just don't have stuff that people want.
Any advice? Any advice for entrepreneurs that you feel like is the core of what what every entrepreneur should know when they start an e-commerce business?
When they start an e-commerce business. Yeah, I mean, e-commerce is tough, right? Like the more you grow, the more complexity it's going to have, the more people that you need to support your operations. Operations are really critical. It's not just like, despite what you might see, a lot of influencers or a lot of people like, here's how I launched a Shopify store and I made 15,000 in my first month and all this, solo entrepreneurship, which is very inspiring. But once you start doing well, you do need a team of people. You do need to consistently keep growing. You do need to, um, you need to have a lot of talent on your team to be able to grow and keep sustaining, unless you want a personal lifestyle business, which is personally perfectly fine too. So yeah, new entrepreneurs is like, there's a thing of like, you have to count the costs before you start something, like it's easy to burn out on entrepreneurship. I've been there myself. I've burnt out on projects. Um, you have to be able to project yourself into 5 years and 10 years and see, are you willing to carry the weight of a successful company if it gets successful?
That's great. Great advice.
Maybe that's not such a positive thing. Mhm.
No, but it's realistic because most people are saying, okay, I want to start something and I have $1 million idea. I'm gonna do this, and it's good and bad because people are living the now and they want to know the now and they want to be in the now. But eventually, if you're talking about a business, then yeah, you need to look 5 and 10 years ahead. In today's world, it's also really tough because AI is emerging from everywhere, and things are changing and algorithms are changing. Um, so I think that's another obstacle that people are going to have to overcome, or to understand that, okay, that's not, I don't want to deal with that right now. Let's see where it's going, and I'll start something in a few years and take a risk that someone else has that $1 million idea. As we know, happened before, probably will happen again. Um, do you think that, because you've mentioned working with fractional marketers, um, do you think that it's better to have a team that you kind of gather around yourself in the, like, okay, e-commerce not as a big spectrum, but as a small, tiny entrepreneurship of someone selling stuff online, like your jewels, for instance. Um, so, do you think it's better to have a team that you built that comes to work every day, that are working on location, on site, or is it better to have like top experts from all around the world, working remotely, but that what that will deliver? Do you think there is a benefit to each of these options?
Definitely. I mean, there's no one size fits all for that. I think when you're first starting out, it's burdensome to start building an in-house team right out of the gate. You probably want to outsource your website build. You want to have a partner that helps you maintain that. You might have less needs. You don't need frequent updates and frequent evolution of your product roadmap and stuff when you just start. So it's easier to tap into, own the core, rent the spikes kind of thing, as tap into resources as needed and be able to scale it. You will pay more for a third party agency per hour, dollar for dollar, or hour for hour, than having an in-house one. But then there's also a cost in managing, recruiting, retaining, giving, if you have a full-time employee, depending on like the rules of your country or what you're doing, there might be, additional overhead and tax, all this kind of stuff, right? They say like cost 1.5 times or maybe even 2x times for an employee. So definitely when you're starting out, be as nimble as possible and flexible as possible. And also working with freelancers and contractors can give you that flexibility too, because a full-time hire is a real commitment. So be able to be flexible that way. But definitely like once you get to 30 million in revenue or even 10 million in annual revenue, you'll at least want to have one dedicated developer, at least, because you need instant if something goes down, you need somebody taking care of it instantly. And if you're putting in a ticket with a third party agency that's managing multiple people, you might not get the responsiveness that you need. You also want somebody in house that understands, especially on the marketing side, at least one person that can liaise with your third parties and all of your other people that understand enough about what they do. You don't have to be an expert, but understand enough about what you do to be able to review what they're recommending to you, and not just let them go independently and start building features for you or making decisions for you that might not be aligned with the business. They might not be aware of things like your supplier contract arrangements and things that you can and can't do to harm those relationships, or your operational stuff, or even your legal stuff in the region that you're in. So having somebody that kind of can be a general liaison between your support ecosystem and the business itself, I think is really important. But once you grow, you'll start with one role and then another role and then another role bringing in house. Like, you're not going to build a team from scratch unless you have major VC funding, and that's part of the plan.
Sure. All right, Linda. So, any last insights that you want to share with our audience today?
Well, e-commerce is an exciting space to be in. So if you're in it, congratulations. It's probably the most exciting, and never been more of a time where it's been democratized and have a lot of opportunity for anyone to come and be very successful in it. So, in 2024, I just wish everyone success, and be open-minded that, things might surprise us in 2024. There might be a new technology, there might be a sudden shift. So you have to be nimble and flexible and curious, and keep following the people that you like to follow, because if you're running a business in e-commerce, you have to know a little bit about everything. You don't have to be a deep expert, but you have to stay on top of all of the spinning plates. So follow a little bit of tech, follow a little bit of IT stuff, follow a little bit about marketing, follow a little bit about user experience and conversion, and invest in yourself in 2020.
That's great. Thank you so much, Linda. It was a real pleasure having you on the show. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
It was a pleasure. You too.